Let's talk about building soil. If you do everything wrong in your garden, but that's the one thing you do right, you will have great yields. You will have phenomenal success. So first, let's kind of try to understand what's in soil and why we need to build soil life. Let's visualize it by looking at this forest. These trees here, 100-foot trees. Look how massive they are. And look at this undergrowth and all of this shrubbery, these grasses. Look what's here on the forest floor. All these leaves, these grasses here. Little insects running around the top. Picture myself standing here. Picture the mammals, the birds, the reptiles, the fish that's in the creek down at the bottom of the holler. Imagine all of that life. Picture how massive it is in just this little area, and realize that much life and organic matter is underground as well. This is half of the life in this forest. The other half is under the ground. Really try to envision that. Imagine that tree. Underneath that space, there's that much organic matter. And now picture this. Imagine you set off a bomb in this forest, or you went through just with a rapid bulldozer and cut it all down, and you shot every animal, and you left nothing but bare dirt. You'd have a desert for a long time, wouldn't you? Now it would recover eventually, eventually birds would come through, they'd make droppings, they'd drop seeds, and some of the dormant seeds would start to come up, and slowly it would recover and restore itself over the decades. But for a good 50 years, you'd have death here. You'd have a hard landscape for anything to survive in. And that's exactly what we tend to do in traditional agriculture. We go through and we bulldoze our soil. We till it up and we reach down in there. Instead of a bulldozer, it's the blade of a tiller reaching down and killing all of those colonies and those cities that exist under there, among the bacteria and fungi and insects and the millions of things that are in a single handful of soil. So we do that, and of course it takes a long time to recover. We don't have soil at that point, we have dirt. So what do we do to try to get our plants to grow? We try to replace those processes that are natural with artificial ones. We put in chemical fertilizers. We go strip mine phosphate, which is running out by the way, and we strip mine other nutrients, and we feed it back into the soil. Of course, that's not natural. It doesn't work as well, and so our plants struggle, and weeds do well, because weeds' job is to fix broken soil. And so what do we do when we see the weeds? Well, we spray herbicides and we spray pesticides, and we poison our soil further and kill everything else in it, and fungicides too. Everything that's there trying to repair the soil, we then kill. And then we get to experience the fun effects of that, which is depleted topsoil, which we are running out of. We are killing ourselves and taking away our ability to survive. And we send all of those chemicals into our waterways, along with all of the nitrogen and nutrients. We send them into our rivers. We kill off all of the biodiversity. We're causing extinction of our species, which we do depend on. We're going to feel the results of this, I promise you. So that's the negative. Now what's the positive? What do we do? Well, right where we are, it's very easy to build soil, and we get the benefit of that. When we build soil, we make our plants way less susceptible to disease. We make it so they need less water inputs. We make it so they need very little to no fertilizer inputs. And we make our job easier. We also make weeds far less of a problem, because most weeds come up to try to repair the soil. And if the soil is healthy, they don't need to be there. So let's talk about how to build soil. It's not complicated. We're taking nutrients from it, right? We grow a plant, we eat the plant, and then the plant comes out the other end and we send it off down to the ocean, and that's wrong. So we need to be bringing those nutrients back in. So in terms of human waste, we do add a lot of human waste to our compost piles, and the rest of it from the septic system on this site is going down the hill, and it's feeding that forest. And from that forest we take sticks and leaves and branches, and we feed the soil up here. And we also eat wild game and things that come out of that forest. So in a roundabout way, we are returning those nutrients back to the garden. Some people do so more directly with a composting toilet, and then they compost the human manure for about a year or two, and then they add that safely to things like fruit trees. But urine is sterile and can actually be added right away. But if that's kind of grossing you out, don't worry, there are other ways to be building soil until you can wrap your brain around reality. So if you're taking from it, you just need to be returning to it. And we happen to live in a system with massive amounts of waste. We waste so much organic matter and we throw it away. I mean, we engage in the insane practice of raking up leaves from trees, putting them in bags, sending trucks burning fossil fuels to pick up the bags, and they haul the bags to the dump and bury them. Humans are not a sane species. But you can take advantage of that insanity. If you live in the suburbs or a city, you can go be gathering those bags up and taking all that free mulch, which is money, free money, and adding that to your garden. But you can also find that mulch elsewhere, so I'll show you a little bit of what we've got here. Here in our soil, we're feeding it whatever's left over from our food. We've got food scraps, eggshells. Eggshells are full of wonderful things. Anything we eat, including meat, gets returned to the soil either directly as mulch or through the compost piles. I was just doing some chicken processing, and we were actually composting the entire chicken carcass in a pile over at Permapastures Farm. And so there's really nothing you can compost. Geoff Lawton's got a bit where somebody asked him, could you compost a human body? Now, I'm not recommending that, but I'm just saying, you can compost anything. So you can compost things and add them to the top of the soil. You can also add any kind of organic matter. We have a lot of sticks coming out of that forest. We have a lot of really just small woody material. We've got grass clippings, we've got hay. The hay comes right out of my rabbit coop, so it's also full of rabbit poop and nitrogen and manure, which can be used instantly. By the way, do not apply manures directly to your bed as a mulch. You have to compost them first, unless they're rabbit. They're a little bit too hot. We also have leaves, any kind of green material. Again, grass clippings or leaves off of a tree, anything like that. I don't really worry about ratios. I just put in really whatever is lying around. It tends to be a lot of sticks, it tends to be a lot of hay, and a lot of leaves. That's what I have a lot of. But I just pile it on deeply, and besides building the soil and giving lots of good stuff to the life down there, it's also protecting it from the sun. When we till, we expose bare dirt to the sun. And I would encourage you, go out into the woods and see if you can find any bare dirt. It's almost non-existent. Nature does not like bare dirt. It covers it up because that's going to destroy the soil. The soil can't take that sun. It needs plants to convert the sunlight into energy and put it back into the soil. And so we need to do the same thing. We need to cover that soil and protect it, either with mulch, or better yet, this is something I'm working more towards, cover crops. All winter long you can have things like clover growing. And so instead of just this soil sitting here, yes, it's protected, but if you have a cover crop, that's doing photosynthesis all winter long. It's taking that sunlight and converting it to nutrients and shooting those nutrients down to the soil life, and so it's building it all winter long. And so come spring, you've got way more activity and just more energy waiting to explode into your plants and creating amazing food for you and making your job way easier. So really, long story short, all you need to be doing to build soil is just pile organic material on top of that soil, put it in compost bins and apply it that way. Of course, there's a lot fancier things you can do. We're not going to get into all that. Geoff Lawton has some great resources on that. You can be adding minerals via your animals. You can be feeding specific things to your animals, and they'll convert that into really high quality manures. Things like rock dust that can be sent through your animal processes. Of course, there's compost worms and worm teas, all sorts of things like that. But for now, let's keep it simple. Just feed your soil. Your soil likes what you like. It likes food. This is food. It's way less picky than you are. I know that you probably don't want to eat this pile of hay or this stick, but your soil would be happy to eat it, and it would be happy to convert that into food for you. So everybody, happy soil building, happy homesteading. Stay safe and be well.